it's players that are tough, and that Michigan team is really smart and physical. They got us into some tough situations where our schemes weren't working. We just had to be tough. This guy was one of the toughest guys out there. For me.
All right, welcome in. That was Jay Wright, Villanova head coach, just after the final horn sounded. Thanks to TBS for the sound there. As the Cats move on, they beat the Wolverines a final of 63-55. Welcome in. It's the postgame show here, TMBR style. Jim Scarcelli and Dennis Fithian. And Scar, the Wolverines' run ends in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I don't think it was from lack of effort. Our guys played hard. Basketball it's a game like so many games where sometimes the ball bounces off the rim and they go your way. How many layups, in other games do those balls go in for the Wolverines? How many? And then we just shot the free throw line. The free throw line and the missed layups. Those are huge for today. I thought we started the game playing really good defense. I thought the first half we played good defense. We left Gillespie a couple times. But I think our defensive scheme, for the most part, was pretty sound. I don't like how we bid on their fakes. God, they are such a great pump faking team. And, and just keep faking and pumping. And they do a great job of it. And we bid on it a few times. But our guys played hard. It just wasn't our day, man. The ball did not bounce our way.
Yeah, 7-14 from the charity stripe. Michigan have been really good shooting free throws in the tournament. I went back last night, looked at their last 4 games. They were shooting 88% from the free throw line, so that was unusual to see them missing shots from the charity stripe. And I think what you said there at the start is what everybody's going to say that watched this game. How many shots did Michigan miss point blank, makeable shots, whether they were layups or in the lane or, on their way, to the hole? Shots that are pretty high percentage, and you can go down the list. There were a bunch of those type of shots right down to the end. All of it being said, you're right, the pump fakes, and the announcers were saying, Jimmy Jackson was saying how many times at halftime it was Juwan Howard saying don't go for the pump fakes and all that. But you can go through all of that, and here we are, just under 3 minutes to go. It was 2:48. Terrence Williams had a pretty good look at a three-pointer. Michigan's down 4. Hey, he makes that. It's a 1-point game. With under 3 minutes to go. So, they had their chances with everything. And you could pick, 3 or 4 guys that you would say really didn't have good games. And yet here was Michigan, at the end with a chance still to win it.
Yeah, our defense kept us in the game. We struggled making shots in the first half, and Brooks got going in the second half. But missing those layups, Denny, again, it has nothing to do with effort, man. It has nothing to do with effort. We popped into our zone, and right away, man, this guy is one of the best coaches in the country, Jay Wright. He knew right what to do, and they picked us, and then they got Gillespie a shot. As soon as Collins gets in the game, first thing they do, and I knew it going in, they post them up, they back them down, and they are a great. Everybody on their team can work the low post. They work on it, and they're good at defending it because they work the heck out of it. You can tell every player on that team, if they get a mismatch and they can back you down low, they will do it. And again, he's just a good coach, and they can if you find a guy that isn't good defending the low block, they're going to make you pay. But
it felt like if Brooks would have had a better first half, and if Dickinson, we've seen him make shots, a lot of the ones that he missed. If Diabate would have made a couple more layups, dunks, wouldn't have had some weird drops and turnovers there. I mean, those sort of things. And you kind of feel like it would have been a closer game, even though they had their opportunities again. Then they had a couple long stretches. You think about in the second half, they were only down 3 at the half, but then there was a stretch there right before, around the 10-minute mark or right before that, where there was it was just too long of a stretch where they didn't get any offense, they didn't get any points at all, and you saw Villanova was able to get that cushion, even though Michigan was able to slice into it a little bit. You spend a lot of energy when you do that. So those missed opportunities are there. Let me read some of the feedback to you, Scar. Andre, right off the jump here, said it was just tough. The layups would not go down, or they would go down and then come back out of the rim, and the missed layups, it just wasn't our night. And that's what you were saying.
Yeah, I tell you, Villanova, it's just, you got to really take a look at the little things that they do, man. They take charges. And they do a great job of denying the entry to Hunter. We got it down in there to them, but they never made it easy for us. Their coaches did a great job of challenging the man with the ball and making his window into Hunter difficult, or make him get it further away from the basket that he'd like. So you got to applaud Villanova for a lot of that. And Diabate has got to get in the weight room. How many times does he get his hands on the ball and they strip it from him? They take it from him. He gets blocked from behind, and he's just going to get better and stronger. But he's just got to get stronger with that basketball in his hand. And I'm going to tell you right now, the thing that bugged me for the last month, I think Terrence Williams deserved more time. I'm sorry, but he deserved more time. He should have been getting Houston's minutes, and he sure should have been in there before Brandon Johns. I don't know why we kept going with him. I don't like to get after guys, they're college kids, but I would have put Williams in there in place of those two kids, because I think he's earned the minutes, but apparently the coaching staff doesn't see it like me.
Well, I think they're fair points when you just look at the box score, you watch the game, so you can see it. I would agree with you on that. I think they like Johns replacing one of the big men down there, but offensively, you're just not getting anything from him. And it was, last year, here he was getting 14 and 6 in the Sweet 16. He just doesn't have it offensively, and Williams does. I mean, that's the thing. So I see where you're coming from. And the same thing with Houston. And Houston started out the game well. I mean, we know they didn't score last game, but here he is. He gets a layup and he gets a three, and you're thinking, oh, hey, this is great. Now this is just what the doctor ordered, getting Caleb Houston. But after that, really nothing from him. I think it's a good point that you made on Villanova's defense. They crowded Michigan, forced them off their spot, had their hands in the passing lane. They were good at that. And, they're going to pick and roll you and get their shots and crash the offensive boards. And, you're talking about bounces that you'll see in a game. Sometimes you're going up there and Michigan looks like they're going to get the easy rebound. Nobody else is out there. And instead of it just coming off like you think it would, like maybe one other bounce, and then it's bouncing a little further. And then, there's Villanova. But I like Michigan's defensive effort. You mentioned that, and it really did keep them in the game where they had opportunities. And you wonder, hey, can they just get a little spurt here? And maybe, it could come down to a one-possession game. That didn't happen. KC saying Dickinson had every opportunity to win this game for Michigan, and they got the calls at the end.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we were trying. If you're a big man, you want to come play at Michigan, because he's going to work. He's going to get you the ball on the low post, but yeah, and we tried like heck to get it to him, and they swarmed him. They made nothing easy. They gave him nothing easy, and I talked about it going in earlier in the week, Denny. I said, listen, Hunter Dickinson, again, in this game, he will be the focal point, because they were going to exploit him when they had the ball, and they did. They brought him away from the basket a couple times, and their guy took him to the basket. And, it wasn't – we did a decent job with it, but they got after him, and they exploited Hunter a few times. But Hunter did, early on in the game, he had some nice passing. He got that second foul early in the second half, kind of took him out. We lost some minutes out of him on that side in the first half. But, he did some good things passing the ball. But, they did exploit him a little bit on defense.
Yeah, I think that we've covered it. What everybody that watched this game will come away with is, their missed opportunities on their makeable shots from in close. And then, that Villanova's a pretty good team, so you give them that. But then might get a little frustrated because, it's the tournament and upsets happen, and then you just look at the earlier game there. There's Arkansas taking down the #1 seed overall in the tournament and beating them 74-68. A lot of times you say, hey, why not us? When it goes down like that, and, just a missed opportunity. Yeah, Villanova was favored in this game, and Michigan had all their chances there, but and I don't know if it was an A game from Villanova, but it certainly wasn't an A game for Michigan. And, those are the kind of, you need your A game if you're going to advance in the tournament. You're a team like the Wolverines. But, Scar, now you turn your attention to the offseason, and there's a few different guys here that you'll keep an eye on that have to make some decisions on their immediate future here in college, and that's what we'll wait around and see what happens.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what Hunter does. I mean, he made big strides, big improvement from last year to this year. His low post game was good last year. He's extended his game. He's a pretty darn good 3-point shooter. Of course, as a Michigan fan, we'd like to see him come back. I'm going to say this too about Devontae Jones. He had a pretty darn good game. He had one turnover on an entry pass, and we're a better team when he's around. Frankie Collins got some time. He could finish at the basket. But getting back to your question, yeah, I would think that it'll be interesting to see what we still see Diabate. I don't know how high Houston is on that draft list. I'd like to see both those guys come back. Frankie Collins will be back, and we'll have Buffkin back. We'll have a good nucleus. We get Hunter back. I mean, we'll have a pretty darn good team. But I still think we need to pick up I guess we're in the mix for Sessions, the kid at Penn State. I read that.
I saw that. There's a big kid, 6'11" guy I was looking at last night that is visiting or taking a look at Michigan or whatever.
Is he a transfer?
A transfer. I'm trying to remember. There was a smaller school. But I watched about 5 minutes of his video late last night. He, he's one of these new age big men. He's got some moves down low, but he also has a pretty looking shot. So, and there's the 5-star kid at LSU that's in the portal. One thing about, Juwan and Michigan, the visibility, they need a point guard. They need a big man. If these guys are making, decisions to go, they'll be able to jump in. And I don't know about, taking their pick of guys, but, they'll have options of players. That's for sure. The one thing that was being discussed a little bit on TMBR today, and you remember going back to, that's the Maize and Blue Review, the Wolverine Dead posting board. If you go back and remember the football season, David Ajabo was not able to cash in on name, image, and likeness because his route to the United States. I mean, he's not a United States citizen, so I don't know I think Scottish. He lived over there, or however, his route to come to Michigan, so he couldn't get the NIL. And then people were debating whether you have Caleb Houston, who is Canadian, and you also have Moussa Diabate, who is from France. So can those guys, and like if it's coming down, you can say, hey, you can play in the G League, or you can just play at Michigan. You get maybe about the same amount when you're talking about name, image, and likeness, but maybe those guys can't cash in on that. Because of the NIL rules, and maybe there'll be something to those, and maybe they can tweak some things or change some things around, but at least something to monitor. We have some more feedback here, Scar. I'll read it for you. This game was so brutal and disgusting to watch. They were so much better than Villanova. Have the kids ever heard of dunking the basketball? That's from Mark.
Yeah, it would have been nice, but we didn't get. Yeah, the Diabate had some open looks to possibly dunk the ball, but you got to feel that guy behind you. Get him in the air, get the foul, go up stronger, and it's frustrating there, man, that we didn't get more of that. Denny, you bring up a good point about that money in the the guys from different countries. I didn't know that, but those are factors because sure. We could put together something for those guys. That's respectable, and it could keep them around Ann Arbor a little bit. But we get Hunter back, and we pick up a good solid guard. That Sessions kid, I love that kid. He's got 10 teams on his list, but that's exactly what we need. We need a scorer, smart kid, seasoned kid to go along with Frankie Collins, to go along with Buffkin, and then we got a 5-star kid coming in, but. With Terrence Williams back now, Terrence Williams will be a guy that can score. He'll give us, he'll give us some scoring from that position. But anyway, yeah, I think we have a real solid nucleus coming back.
Yeah, they got 4 guys coming in, all pretty highly rated, like you talked about. And then there was a few guys like Will Cheddar and Isaiah Barnes who redshirted. So let's see. And with the transfer portal, how these teams can change. Andre saying he thinks Devontae has 1 more year of eligibility. Musa and Caleb should come back as well. Devontae Jones could come back here. Now, does he want to? At some point, you're like, Scar, it is fun. It is great being part of the team. It is also work. Like, these guys, of the class and the practice schedule and the classes and the study room. And, it is a full-time job playing basketball. And yeah, it's great. Maybe Devontae Jones wants to come back. Maybe Michigan wants him to come back. Michigan does have Doug McDaniel, a 4-star point guard, coming in next year. And, of course, Frankie Collins. So do they want – I don't even know if you'd call that a log jam or the options. We'll see on that. Devontae came along. Experienced guard coming back. Sure. If they could make that happen, I'd like to see it too.
I didn't know he had another year. That's good news. And, this is where Juwan Howard and that coaching staff, they got to be great. You got to make great decisions here with who you bring back, man, and how you put that puzzle together is more important than your X's and O's, I think, and Denny, talking about your point about the commitment of coming back for a 4th year, 5th year, whatever they got. I know I had to make that decision to come back for a 5th year, but let me say this, the NCAA has done a lot of really good things for minimizing the amount of time that these kids put in. There's time limits. They get when I was playing college football, it was 7 days a week during the season. You had no time off, none. 0. These guys now, and it's been the last 10, 15 years, I think, they get a mandatory day. They can only do 20 hours. So it's a lot better for the kids to actually be student athletes, have more time to do those things. But I'll take Devontae Jones back. And, again, this is where Juwan and this staff, they got to put it together, because I think our puzzle was not put together properly, counting on some of our guys to be scorers that just did not get it done for us. I think you know who I'm talking about. We should have brought in 1 more transfer, a knockdown gunner shooter, and we would have won 3-4 more games and been in the hunt to win a Big Ten championship. That's just 1 shooter instead of one seasoned shooter instead of a freshman would have been a huge difference in our team.
Now, I hear you about the best laid plans. That was the thing, like the year before, Michigan went out there and they went to the transfer portal and, they hit on Shawnee Brown and Mike Smith. I mean, those guys were gold. And so when they went to the transfer portal and they got Devontae Jones, you thought that would just be a smooth transition. He would come in. What you found out is that from Coastal Carolina, he didn't play with bigs. And then, Michigan having and making the decision to play 2 bigs at the same time, it was an adjustment period for Devontae and Hunter Dickinson and Musa Diabate. And yeah, I think they were expecting Caleb Houston to shoot better earlier, all the way through.
Johns too, yeah.
Yeah, Johns too. You expect a guy coming back, like mentioned. How many times? I've mentioned it a few times. Last year in the Sweet 16, he had 14 points and 6 rebounds. He's good defensively, and you're thinking he's coming back for his senior year. How many times do you see guys blossom when they know it's their final year? And, you at least hope that he picked up where he left off or played a little bit better, and that wasn't the case with
I've seen it in footballs. Guys got worse as they went on. They got sidetracked with personal stuff. I've seen it many, many times, and it happens. Yeah, D's making some good points, man. Free throws and missed layups, but again, that's got nothing to do with effort, man. It's just some days it happens, some days it doesn't. And you got to handle the pressure. And it didn't look like it was sold out. It wasn't like it was real loud. No, but it was, it's just knowing the game's on national television. It's a pressure-packed environment, and we just didn't get it done.
Well, over the last 4 games, they had hit almost 90% of their free throws. So to hit just 50% of them, that's frustrating. If you're a Michigan fan, when you see those guys walk up there, you make 3 or 4 of those, and Yeah, you talk about making half of your layups. Maybe Michigan wins going away, but it's a lot closer game. That's for sure. The point is well taken by D's. Mark saying he's never seen so many shots fall off the rim. They played tight and scared the whole time for no reason. Terrence taking that early 3 in the shot clock, only down 4, was so stupid. Well, I pointed to that one at 2. It was 2:48 to go in the game. Michigan was down 4, and the one thing that is it was early in the shot clock. You want to get that down to Hunter. You want to think about the Eli Brooks on a 3. But Terrence, the way he had been shooting late in the year, and he had made one earlier in the game, you call it hero ball. That's one you maybe didn't want, but you've also seen him make that one. I'm not going to say it was stupid. You said a little bit ill-advised, but hey, look, what are we doing? Just semantics here. 2:48 to go. He makes that. It's a 1-point game. It was a huge shot. I'll tell you that, Mark. I'll give you that. It was a huge shot. And, when you say play tight and scared, you miss layups, you miss free throws. They made all their free throws the game before. What were they not? Were they playing free with nothing to lose against Tennessee and then they tighten up in the Sweet 16? You explain. It's hard to explain when you're missing easy shots and point blank ones, and same thing with the freebies when you're making them in the past. If they weren't a very good free throw shooting team, you'd say, hey, it made free throws all year long, but they had made them, and they had made them in this tournament. So that's tough.
Yeah, he had Hunter too, and Jackson pointed out, because I saw Hunter too. It was way overplayed. Terrence could have thrown the lob on that instead of taking that shot. But in defense of the player too, we don't know what the coach is saying on the sideline. Because it was there was what, 40 seconds. I don't know, but yeah, it looked like it was rushed. But in defense of the kid,
was early in the clock, that's for sure.
Yeah, I know, man.
And you like to pass it around, maybe to see if you can get a little bit more open there. D's with a couple more points. Bad Michigan offense showed up after taking a vacation for a few games. Freshmen played poorly all game long. The veterans struggled too. D's pointing out that T. Will forced that 3. If you had Caleb Houston, who was soft and tentative all game long, Diabate got abused by the smarter, tougher.
D's is on pretty good, man. My man makes some good points. That's a lot of how I see it. Yeah, Caleb Houston he gets pushed around, man. He's a freshman. Diabate, he's getting pushed around, man. They need to get in old Sanderson camp, Fort Sanderson, and find that weight room, man. And we'll see different players next year. We get the improvement from all those freshmen like we got from Hunter if Hunter comes back. But there's no replacement for Brooks, man. Brooks was, to fill those shoes is huge. He was a solid player for us. He had a rough first half, but he got settled in. Just a real good, solid player, good defensive player. But it's just we got to get back to taking charges, man, and doing all those little things, just the little things, the smart passes, and that'll come with Houston and like Dees talks about with the freshmen, man. Even though they played 30 games, sometimes they still do a lot of things that freshmen do. Dumb, ill-advised passes or not covering the right guy.
Yeah, and who knows? They could lose Dickinson, Houston, Diabate, Devontae Jones. They could lose all of those guys. Maybe they'll get the 1 or 2 of them back. And like you say, the offseason and filling it up with the transfer portal, fitting these pieces together, staying on their recruiting. We know that they got the 4 guys coming in next year. Oscar, here's the tough task of putting a bow on the season, and I'm going to go first. And you can think about it a little bit. You head into this year. I remember last year where they had 3 shots and under 22 seconds or whatever it was to get to the Final Four against UCLA, and I enjoyed that season so much last year. A lot of it had to do with COVID and not being able to go out, but that team was a big surprise. They weren't picked to finish in the top 3 or 4. It was more like 6, and they won the Big Ten. They had a number 1 seed. Then they validated it in the postseason. It was a fantastic year, one of the most enjoyable seasons of Michigan basketball ever. So the off season, they were the toast of the town, and Hunter Dickinson comes back, and I was talking about Final Four again, run it back. Heck, they get to the championship game, they could win it all. And preseason number 6, and I get to as high as 4, but it was it was pretty apparent early on that this was not a top 5 team, a top 10 team. And, they fell out of the top 25 for a stretch there. It looked like they weren't going to make the NCAA tournament at all. So being able to put it together in the middle of the season and late and actually get into the tournament, even though the preseason expectation was this team getting to the Final Four, if somebody wanted to say, it's a failure of a season because this was a team that was expected to get to the Final Four, I think you can say that, but I think you have to piece also together what they did actually during the season and marry those up. And if you do that, I think that making the tournament and then winning 2 games, it's not a banner year. It's nothing to get out there and have some great celebration, but it was a good year for this team, all things considered, getting to the second weekend of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I don't. Last year's team was, I knew we were going to be good. I mean, you had knockdown shooters back, Livers and Wagner, man, and then we get a kid like Smith that could shoot, and and we had Brooks, and then Hunter was the big pleasant surprise with Shawnee Brown. He put it together. Juwan put the great puzzle together.
Yeah,
he found a couple missing links with 2 older guys, Shawnee Brown, and he found the right point guard. We had the right freshman, but we had knockdown stone cold killers at that 3-point line. And we had that. This year, we counted on guys to be those guys, and they just didn't get it done. We were sold a bill of goods. Okay, the people in the media who had Michigan picked, I don't know what, I guess they were going on 1 game for Brendan Johns, where he lit it up against Florida State last year. But if you really look at the body of work, it wasn't there. There was no proof that he was going to be that knockdown shooter. And there was no proof that Williams was going to be a knockdown shooter. And Caleb Houston's a freshman. So look, we did a decent job with the players we had, but again, I felt we should have brought in 1 more shooter, and I think we would have had a much different team. And again, those are the the University of Michigan should never be caught without the ability, without enough guys that could score and play the game. If we make mistakes in recruiting, he should be able to adjust it by picking in some stone cold killers at the 3-point line and some shooters and the kind of guys we need to fill in the blanks, because Michigan is that kind of a program.
Yep, I think they're great points. I think if Juwan was there, he'd say, Jim, we just kept going with the same guys, and we trusted that they were going to break through and that they were actually going to do it. But I think when he takes a step back, and they all do, I think they would agree with you. Like, man, I 1 more shooter, really needed a shooter, knockdown 3-point shooter, and that just didn't happen, didn't materialize for him. Well, it was fun being on here with you throughout the season, Scar. As a former football player, but you coach basketball, and you come on here, and you did a fabulous job talking about the games and entertaining everybody.
There's a lot of similarities between both games, and I played them both and coached them both. And I'll say this about basketball, Denny. It's a hell of a lot harder to outcoach someone in basketball. If a team's got a few players and the guy's not a good coach, it's still tough to beat him. But if a guy's got good players in football, there's more room for error. There's 22 positions. So it's tougher to beat someone, outcoach someone. Let me say this too. I was on Villanova's campus. Beautiful campus. Just want to throw it out there. It's a beautiful old school, they just old brick. It's a beautiful campus. What's that got to do with anything? I don't know. But I was impressed with the campus. And Denny, I had a blast working with you, doing basketball. I hope the listeners enjoyed some of the things we talked about. I got to throw this out. I was at practice last week. I was able to come out with a T-shirt, man. The old equipment guy took care of the old washed-up player.
Oh, well, it looks good on you. You finally got a new shirt. All those shirts from '85. That one's really popping through the screen. It looked pretty good. I want to tell everybody on the feedback here, when we run this back and we get it going even here in the summer, you use the feedback right now. But if you get at me on Twitter and send me a direct message, or send me an email, Dennis S. Fithian at Gmail, we'll figure it out. we'll get you on here where we can take calls or we can go to you if that's something you want to do. Heck, we could even arrange it where we could go to video as well, something we want to do here in the future. But thanks, everybody, for sending in that feedback as well. All right, Scar, that's going to do it. Hockey tomorrow. Yeah. In the hockey season.
Hey man, it's Michigan. We are hitting it on all cylinders, man. We got great facilities. We got a great education. We can recruit all sports. Change the topic real quick. I wonder what's going to happen with our assistant coaches, Denny. We got some good ones there. Old Howard and Sadi. It'd be interesting to see if anybody snatches them up. They're making a lot of money at Michigan, though, so you got to step up to the plate to get them to come to your school.
Well, Sadi Washington did not go to his alma mater when they had an opening last time. They have an opening again, so I would keep an eye on that one out there in Kalamazoo. Well, it's the last time I can play this music, or the last time I will. So I can play it every time if I wanted to, but there it is. How about Arkansas?
Well, it's time for the Boilers. Let's cheer on the Boilermakers. That's all we got left.
All right, I'm with you. All right, Scar.
Go Blue!
There he is, Jim Scarcelli. The final. Talking tomorrow on the Afternoon Live Show. Good night, everybody.